live. Welcome back to the PagerDuty live stream. I'm Mandy Walls, one of the developer advocates here, and it's time for release notes. Yay! For Rundeck and Runbook Automation. So Forrest is with us.
You're a director of product for Rundeck. Jake is off solving the world's automation problems, so it's just me today. Talking about 5.12.
Yes.
Well, yeah, there's that, but it's a little bit lighter release.
So, okay.
This will be a quick. This will be a quick one today. But we did get a few enhancements to some existing plugins, two that I'll specifically talk about. But let's just do the screen sharing and put up our release notes here. Let's see.
All right. I put the link in the chat for folks who want to follow along, and we'll be good to go.
Is that there? We go.
There you are.
Yeah. So the big news with 5.12 is we improved the HTTP response. We have a plugin that will send those, just a generic HTTP request, get some, content back. You can use it to go and get information from an API endpoint. That's kind of the most common. Obviously, you could use it to post some data or trigger things. But what was challenging was there's a particular feature on there that you could determine success. So we actually had a few customers that were using it to confirm failure codes were coming properly, or just sort of fully testing a suite.
No.
And the challenge with that particular step in that feature, which I'll show in a second, was you had to pick the specific code. And as you know, with HTTP codes, 200-ish is good. You did good. 200 is great, but there's other ones. I don't know them all off the top of my head. I think I happen to know 206 was like a partial request because we do that in our test. But you can now do a range. So instead, like if I wanted 200 to 206, I had to do a different step for each one of those to and then be like, okay, that one worked, but that one didn't. Now we can do ranges. So you can say, as this shows here, you can do a 200 through 206, or you can even do it, with a wildcard using these X's as a wildcard to group them. So that, while it seems small, made for much more efficient job execution for, more than just one customer. That was one customer, example and use case, but I think this was coming up. This is an open source plugin, so this also does apply to all versions of Rundeck and Runbook Automation out there. And in addition, the other piece that I don't actually see, I'll have to maybe go add that, but we also made sure out in cloud, and I think coming in a future version, that the Mongo step that we previously released, I think in 5.11, this one that we released was just a workflow step. But the challenge with that was you couldn't use it with our runners, and you couldn't, really use it very well with Runbook Automation, our SaaS offering. So now there's a very equivalent, but a node-based step that you can run on a runner. So we'll take a look at both of these. We'll start with our HTTP range check. And we can see here that we now have, the ability down here to put in these expected codes. We put in the reminder of how to use it right below it. You can specify it straight to 200. And we have an easy way to test this with this http-sat.us. If we issue a get to this, it will give us a 200 response. If we issue a get to this, it will give us a 206 response. We'll leave it at 206, but we'll say that we're expecting a 200. We are expecting this job to fail. This is what you would have had previously, right? You would have just been able to say 200, and you'd be fail. Well, 200 is good. 206 is kind of good, right? Partial content. But it was an error because it wasn't 200. Now, if we do want to change this to be a range, What do you want to do? Man, do you want to do a range or you want to use the X's?
Nah, well, let's try the X's.
So if we do 2.x.x and we leave it at 206 and we run the job, we get all steps okay. Successful because it came back with a 206 and it was successful. And we can even edit it really quickly and say that we also want to do it. What if we just got a 200 back? We won't change our X's. And we will get another success here. So now we can check those ranges in a much more dynamic fashion. Still the same step. And the Mongo setup, I'm working on a little teaser for some content that's coming. Atharsha and I are, she's lurking out there in chat somewhere. Say hi in comments. We are working on a deeper use case on how to use these plugins and how Mongo, how they work in depth. So that's a little bit of what this job is, that it's in my sandbox here. But this is now also available as a node step.
Nice.
This is inserting a bunch of commands, all different kinds of commands. The fun part was I wrote the bulk of this job with Claude, the AI engine. So I asked Claude to help me build an example Mongo database, but also I want to create it using a Rundeck job. And I gave an example. Since this plugin's so new, he didn't really know about our plugin yet. But I gave him an example of a job that just issued a very simple command. And he took it and ran with it and gave me this job out that will go through and create a whole e-commerce database to use as an example.
Nice.
Yeah, we can go through and see what some of these are all doing for us. And these all being node steps. The node step one has a specifically titled node step, then allows us to run it against a runner. If you've looked at some of our sample content that's out there, you'll see that I typically write them so that they work well with our runners, and you pick the runner when you go to run the job. So this is a format that I use for those. May work for others. Maybe you just want to run it on your server because you have direct access, etc. So that's the other exciting piece. Looking back at the release notes, usual CVE and package updates. And if you were running into trouble with installing via RPM, there was a requirement in the RPM, build that Java 11 was required, but remember a few versions ago we said Java 17 was now supported. That was just getting in the way. It would still actually work if you installed Rundeck and said Java 11's there, or had Java 11 and then you upgraded Java 17. It would still work. It was just like a package fix. So we fixed that up. Did some other, we're still working behind the scenes. We don't always include them in all of the lists, but we're still working very much behind the scenes on some view conversion. So we're going to be standardizing. If anyone's really dove into the open source code, you'll see a bunch of different bits of code used for our front end, the UI, consolidating and standardizing all of that to view. Shout out to one of our engineers, Sarah, who is, elbows deep in that world. It is.
That's how you got to do it. Get right in there.
We're getting we're making some progress, and this was going to be a little bit bigger release, but we deferred a few things to 5.13. I think I've mentioned them before, but it's going to be some really fun UI, visualizations of your Rundeck and what's going on in there.
Great. Very nice.
I think that's about it for this release.
All righty. I love that its name is Kinabalu Orange Flash. I always love the name.
Yeah, we haven't talked about those since I think the original one. Remember with 5.0, when we did 5.0, everyone can go back and watch that video. We invited David Darby, who's a very avid mountaineer, because he had actually climbed, I forget the exact mountain it was, but I remember we invited him in to talk about our mountain ranges. He's been to the top of Denali.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So maybe Tiago was doing these.
I think Tiago did that one.
Yeah. So yeah, we invited Dave Darby in because all of our, our version thing has the mountain, the color, and then this is an icon that's used. And I haven't checked in with him to see if we've covered any other mountains through the other 12 that we've done, to see if I missed an opportunity to bring him back into the feed. But he had a great picture of Pagey. If you can watch that video, he had a photo of Pagey on top of Denali. He takes Pagey with him when he goes and climbs these crazy mountains.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
that's fabulous.
All right. I think we. Because I was out for a week, we're running pretty close to 5.13. I think that's going to be, if you all out there are tracking the release notes and watching for new releases, 5.13 is not too far off. So we might be getting together again real soon, awesome. Andy. And we've also been talking about the live coding series. I'm going to plug that again, where I've gotten the more formal plan, put together, and I've got quite a few folks interested in joining us, both internal, but the invite is there for anyone external. If you'd like to join us live, face on screen, for a live coding web series. We're going to code jobs, we're going to code plugins, we're going to code all kinds of things. We're going to use AI to do it, so it's fast. You can bring your use cases. If you've written a plugin yourself and want to talk through it, all of those things, share that with us in the communities. I think we usually can throw a link out there. It's community, yep. Community singular .pagerduty.com. But definitely reach out. We want that series to be super helpful for everyone.
Absolutely. We love to hear about what you are doing with our products. So anytime, we are open for hearing from folks.
And it's, in the first few, we're obviously going to set some good standards out and show you how we've done it. I might use this Mongo e-commerce one as my example of, how did I get it to really crank out this job? And it was, once you have good examples, it gets stuff done quick for you. Oh, the other one I should throw out, it writes ACL rules very well.
Oh, that's good.
Those are confusing. I have been working on this product for over 5 years now, and I still get confused when I have to sit down and write an ACL, even with the UI and everything. Man, I asked it the other day. I said, "Hey, can you write me a Rundeck ACL that does XYZ?" And it just did it. It was great. So we're gonna go through all those fun things on the series, and I'm really looking forward to that. As you can
tell. Yeah, it should be really good. All right.
Right. All right. I think that's everything.
All right. That's all we've got for this one. We'll be back in a few weeks with the next one. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can always reach out, join the forums at community.pagerduty.com. If you want to email, my team is community-team@pagerduty.com. We're always here to help answer your questions, get you in touch with people if you have other questions about stuff. And so we'll see you back here on the stream in a few weeks for the next one.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks, Forrest. Thanks, everybody. Bye.